Hey friends, today I'm going to talk about neediness. This is a prompt from Gibran in my previous video. He left a comment asking me what helped me the most with becoming less needy, right? And let's just talk about let's just riff about neediness for a while. I think so. It's fine to have needs or wants, right? Everybody has needs and wants, but the kind of cruel paradox of life, it seems to me most of the time, is that people who are very needy, meaning they are very anxious and in pressing for a particular outcome, like they want something, they need, they kind of need the thing, whatever the thing is. It might be they want to win, or they want to be perceived as attractive, or be perceived as smart, right? They want status, they want to be admired, they want to have money, whatever the case. you know um, Being needy is when you have this sense that you are less of a person, or you're incomplete as a person without the thing that you need. And the needier you are, the less likely people give you stuff. This is like the cruel paradox. Like, the more kind of abundant mindset you have and embody, the more you demonstrate that you don't really need stuff, right? Like the cliche in, I think, negotiations is like, never be the person who wants the thing more and can't walk away. Because once you demonstrate that you can't walk away from the negotiation, then the other person has the upper hand, right? Because they can define the terms, because you're not gonna leave because you need it, right? And so, how do you become less needy? Should I first talk about like my how I was needy? Well, when I was a teenager, I remember I was very needy for people to think that I was smart, and I was very needy to win arguments. I was very needy to, be attractive, be like all of those things. And what happened was that I would be very pushy with my friends, and with I like to think that if you observed my younger self, you can see the similarities between me now and me then. I tried to be charming, I tried to be kind, I tried to be friendly. Like, I had all of those things all the way from the beginning. But I had this anxious energy, I was very right. And so it took me a long time to learn how to relax, in like the deepest sense, right? And I think there's a lot of layers to it. Superficially speaking, one of the easiest ways to become less needy is to get stuff, right? To get stuff that you want. I think when you're a teenager and when you're in your like early 20s and stuff, there's a lot of anxiety because you're so early in your life, you don't have a lot of life experience, you don't know how things are going to turn out, you don't know. So if you're a guy and you want to get a girlfriend, and you ask a couple of girls out and they both say no, you get anxious. You're like, oh my god, 100% of girls that I've talked to have said no. Like, what's wrong with me? And you start to, because the amount of data you have is so little, that just everything just seems way more magnified, right? Like, and that's teenage life as well, right? It's just everything is really intense. You got hormones going on, chaos, crazy stuff. And I think to some degree, I don't know if this will reduce the like baseline neediness that you have, but I do think that simply knowing that that is something that subsides eventually, I think even that would reduce some amount of neediness in the moment. But this is just part of it. There's a lot of layers to this. Another layer would be, I would probably the deepest core layer, and this gets deep and dark, right? The deepest core layer is like, neediness is a manifestation of fear. And like, if you want to go all the way, the deepest fear is the fear of death, right? Like, we're all gonna die, and we don't know what it's like to die, and we don't know what happens after we die, and it's just great unknown, great FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. It's like, so if you just kind of, to simplify this thing completely, a person who does not fear death, right? And I'm not saying that I'm fearless in the face of death, but a person who has come to terms with the transience of life, and come to terms with the fact that we are all tracings in the sand, we are all waves in the ocean, this too will pass, everything will be gone, right? If you can kind of embrace that and accept it, then it's like whatever it is that you want or need, like that's like superficial fluff. That's like, the window dressing or icing on the cake. But like deep below it, you don't really need anything because you can't hold on to anything. You can't bring anything with you. We're all here for, it's like all of life is one amusement park ride in a sense, right? Or it's a day at the beach. Like you can't, when you really appreciate that, you take deep breaths. I mean, you that might be a bit of an info hazard for some of you. It might be something that makes you go, oh god, that makes things even worse. So I'm sorry if that happens. But what happened to me was, I was listening to a lot of Alan Watts when I around like 2015, when I was feeling very depressed at work, and not at work but like with work and with life, being an adult, and just life felt so relentless. I felt like I was trapped in prison. My existence itself felt like a prison. And listening to Alan Watts made me realize, like, he has this just, I mean, the stuff that he says is very straightforward human wisdom, like, but it's the way he says things. He just has this such a cheeky attitude, like the way he laughs and giggles. There's such a mischievous um, approach to things. And just hearing him kind of talk about extreme things like death and the collapse of civilization and like all these grandiose things, but he would clearly be having fun doing it, and witnessing him having fun describing difficulties in life made me realize that that's an option. You can ask out a bunch of girls, right? If you're a guy, or whoever you, what that's just a proxy for whatever it is that you're afraid to do, right? You want a good job, you apply for a job interview, you get a rejection. Like, it sucks, but it doesn't have to define you as a person. Like, nothing can really define you as a person. Like, I mean, you try to assemble some identity from the things that you have, but it's all kind of a game. I have a blog post. I'll link it in the comments and in the description, about a bunch of notes that I have from talking about neediness and what it's like. And I remember that in the book Finite and Infinite Games, there is this sense that finite players are playing to win. Like, they want the trophy, they want the high score, which is cool, it's nice to have. But infinite players, right? They play to keep playing. They play to enjoy the game. And I think you'll often find that people who play to enjoy the game, well, it depends. In some cases, they are the ones that end up winning more often because they have that looseness and flexibility. And sometimes maybe they don't actually win as many trophies, but they're not. They're having fun while they're playing, right? As opposed to playing with the intent of getting an outcome. So part of it is learning to detach yourself from outcome fixation, which is something that's indoctrinated in us in school, I feel, and I guess to some degree by parents and by peers and by society in general. You see that other people value the grades and they value the trophy and they value the accolades and whatnot. But if you look at children, you see how children play. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that they're completely outcome independent, but like, children know how to enjoy themselves for its own sake. They spin in circles and they climb stuff and they hop and skip and they, make up stories and all those things. And there is an abundance in that kind of play. It's not playing for an outcome, it's playing to play, right? And that's the spirit that you kind of want to embody. And so I would say, let's say let's say I'm talking to my younger self, right? When was I at my neediest? Probably about 17. I had just broken up with my girlfriend. My band had fallen apart, and we effectively kind of broke up, like my musician friends. What else? I was doing horribly in school. Like, I was just very depressed and very needy. I wanted good grades, but I was bashing myself up to try and study, and I couldn't. I wanted a girlfriend, and every girl that I talked to, I think they could sense my neediness, and they weren't very interested in me. Yeah, so let's say I could sit down with 17-year-old Visa and talk to him. I would, it's not so much about telling him what to do or giving him advice. That's not the thing. I would ask him questions because the point is to get him to express himself, right? So I would ask him, "Hey, how are you feeling?" And then he might say, "Oh, I'm so stressed and frustrated and whatnot." And I would say, "That makes sense. You know, it's normal to be like that as a kid. And what do you want? What would you like to be doing? You know?" And I'll say, "Oh, I don't want to be in school." And be like, "Okay, what would you rather be doing?" It's like, "Oh, I want to play in a band. I want to be successful." And I would just kind of ask him, "What's up? You know, why do you want to play in a band? Why do you want to be successful?" It's like, "Oh, you know, it's so nice to be on stage and people singing along to my songs, and it makes me feel like I belong." And like so I would just kind of keep getting him to talk about what he wants and why he wants it. And this is not necessarily a direct answer to the neediness problem, but it's really about the vibe. It's really realizing that it's okay to lose. You know, life kicks everyone's ass in the end. Nobody makes it out alive, right? Nobody gets to bring their money with them. Nobody gets to bring their, I don't know, their sexual conquests with them. Whatever it is that you think that you need, one day you'll be gone and you won't have it. And everybody who like it's just it's a fixation, right? And the challenge is to try and see the bigger picture and the kind of the flow of all things, right? That we are all waves in the ocean, and to be needy is to press for a specific outcome. But when you are fixated on specific outcomes, you don't get to kind of be open to opportunities that you don't expect. There's this fantastic story. I mean, story. It happened on Twitter. So it happened on Tinder and it was screenshotted on Twitter, and so it's like this short guy. So I don't know if it's a true story, but it seems true. There's this short guy who matches a girl on Tinder, and right away he's apologizing for his height, and he asks her, I think, "How tall are you?" And she's like 5'7" or something, 5'6" maybe, same height as him. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm the same height." And she's like, "Oh, but you're cute though, you know." And he says, "Yeah, I know, but like women don't like guys who are the same height." And she's like, I'm really, what's going on?" And then he's like reciting his story to her, and he completely misses the fact that she was into him, and like halfway through she's not anymore, right? Because here's a guy who's got issues and he's fixated on his thing, and that's not gonna be resolved anytime. So she's not gonna be the one. She doesn't want to be the one to help him through his issues. Like, people want to date, people want to have a good time. And yeah, man, so it's crazy. I'll link that in my comments as well. But the thing to realize is that maybe the thing to realize is that whatever outcomes it is that you're fixated on, like winning over that one particular person, or getting this particular result, or doing well on this particular test, or performing well on this particular stage, like all of that is really, it's a fixation based on your current mental model of what you think life is supposed to be, right? And what you think is good. And your thinking is limited to a degree that you don't realize because you're contained by your thinking, right? And ask older people, they'll tell you that so many of the good things that happen in their life ended up happening like by accident, kind of, or like, they weren't particularly looking for this thing, but something else happened. Which isn't to say that you shouldn't be looking for things, or that you shouldn't be trying to find things and work towards your goals and stuff. But the idea there is to be flexible enough that when things surprise you, you're able to kind of be playful and consider a different outcome than the outcome that you were pressing for. I don't know if this helps reduce a person's neediness. I think, I don't think there's something that I can say in like a magic sentence that will reduce your neediness if you're needy. I think it's really about the vibe. I think it's really, you have to witness what it's like to be in the presence of non-needy people, of people who are playful, people who are having fun, people who, so like in the context of something like YouTube, I I'm not like successful yet, right? I don't have tons of followers, but I appreciate everybody who shows up for this. You know, even if it's like 5 or 6 people who actually watch it, and you might see the view counter go to like a couple of hundred, but people probably click through and then bounce off, whatever. But I appreciate, so you know, I appreciate everybody who's hung out long enough to hang out with me, right? Anyone who's been here for this long, and that appreciation comes from me embracing the present moment, right? Like I dare say a reason that people struggle to grow their Twitter following or their YouTube accounts or whatever is that you can tell that they are needy and pressing for an outcome in the future, and that until they get that outcome, they're not fully present in the moment. And if you're not fully present in the moment, people don't want to hang out. You know, people don't want to, like, nobody wants to like hang out with someone who's kind of texting on their phone the whole time and not, and like, you know, they're not really paying attention to you, and they're like, huh, yeah, sure, yeah, you know, right? Who wants to hang out with that guy, right? And if you're needy, it's like whatever your needs are, that's your phone. Like you're being distracted by, and you know, even saying being distracted, it's not entirely, you know, it's like you're almost afraid to face the reality that's in front of you, right? And it's okay to be frightened. I'm not saying that you should magically you're no longer, you have super courage and no fear, right? But like the challenge is to try to spend some time paying earnest attention to what is happening, right? Yeah, I'm not super crazy about this video so far. I feel like I've been going in circles and not directly answering the question. If I haven't directly answered the question, feel free to ask me follow-up questions in the comments, and maybe I'll make a part 2. But yeah, I think this is a part 1 video. I feel like this is a much bigger thing than can be answered in one video. So please give me some follow-up questions, and I'll end this here. Done.